Do you fear the dark? What if I told you that the deepest wisdom and power lie hidden within that very darkness? Today, we journey into the most shadowed corners of mythology to meet three goddesses whose very names inspire awe and dread: Hel, Kali, and Persephone. They are often called goddesses of death, but they are far more than mere harbingers of the end. They are guides, healers, and the keepers of forbidden knowledge. In this video, we will explore why their terrifying appearance is merely a mask, concealing a profound truth about life, transformation, and authentic feminine power. Stay with us, and you will discover why confronting these dark goddesses might change you forever, for the better. Throughout history, humanity has tried to make sense of death. We crafted rituals, we wrote poetry, and we created gods. And so often, death wore a feminine face. Why? Perhaps because women give life, and in the ancient mind, it was believed that she alone held the power to take it back, thus completing the great circle of being. This archetype, the dark goddess, exists in nearly every culture, yet over time, she became feared and demonized. Her wisdom, tied to the cycles of nature, intuition, and the mysteries of the subconscious, was labelled as evil and witchcraft. Today, we aim to restore these powerful figures to their true meaning. We will see that they are not monsters, but essential forces of nature, forces without which neither growth nor rebirth is possible. They are the key to understanding the deepest parts of our own soul. Our journey begins deep within the cold, misty lands of Norse mythology. Here, in the depths of the Underworld, reigns Hel, the daughter of the treacherous god Loki and the giantess Angerboda. Odin, the All-Father, banished her to the realm of the dead, granting her dominion over the 9 worlds. But this was not a punishment in the way we understand it. It was, rather, a recognition of her inherent power and destiny. Her very name Hel signifies to conceal or to cover. She is not a deity who hunts for souls or inflicts suffering. Instead, she is the guardian of those who died not in glorious battle, but from old age or illness. Hel embodies the inevitable, the part of life we often prefer to ignore, yet which is always close at hand. She is the manifestation of a harsh, yet fundamentally fair, natural order, where every being has its place and its appointed time. Her realm is not hell, it is, more accurately, a place of rest, the silence that follows a long and arduous journey. Hel is most renowned for her visual appearance. One side of her body and face is beautiful, radiant like a living goddess. The other is a stark contrast, blue-black, decaying and corrupted, like a rotting corpse. This image is more than just a scare tactic. It is a powerful, profound symbol of duality itself. Hel's appearance immediately illustrates that life and death, beauty and decay, creation and destruction are fundamentally inseparable, 2 sides of the very same coin. They are not only inseparable but coexist at the same time. Any attempt to embrace only the light side of life while rejecting the dark is ultimately futile. Hel teaches us the necessity of true wholeness. She urges us to accept all facets of being and every aspect of our own identities, even those we find terrifying or deeply unsettling. Only by integrating our shadow, our own inherent dead aspect, can we achieve true completeness and genuinely start living. Let's dispel a major myth right now. The realm of Hel, or Helheim, is not the Christian version of hell. Scandinavian mythology simply didn't feature the concept of eternal punishment for sins after death, at least not in the sense we typically understand it. Helheim is simply the destination for most souls who pass away. Yes, it is a dark and cold place, bordered by the River Gil, but you won't find any boiling cauldrons or eternal tortures here. It is more accurately described as a home for the dead, a final resting place. While warriors who fell gloriously in battle ascended to Valhalla to feast with Odin, everyone else, including peasants, artisans, women and children, found their final refuge in Hel's realm. She provided them shelter and eternal rest. This recontextualizes her. She is a goddess not merely of death, but of the afterlife itself, serving as the fair and impartial ruler of the vast majority of deceased souls. The key myth that truly reveals Hel's nature is the story of the death of the god Balder, the brightest and most beloved of all the Aesir. Killed at the instigation of Loki, Balder descends into Helheim. His mother, Frigg, pleads with Hel to release her son. Hel agrees but imposes a single profound condition. Balder can only return if everything, living and dead, mourns him throughout the 9 worlds. This moment demonstrates that Hel is not an embodiment of soulless evil. She proves herself capable of empathy and willingness to compromise. She doesn't hold souls captive simply out of malice or spite. Her condition is, in fact, a test of universal harmony and love. Unfortunately, the giantess, Thug, who was almost certainly Loki in disguise, refused to shed a tear, and Balder remained in the realm of the dead. Hel simply enforced the law, proving her loyalty to cosmic order rather than personal sentiment or sympathy. Hel embodies the archetype of a just and incorruptible sovereign. In her realm, all souls are equal. Whether you were a king or a slave in life, before her, you are simply a spirit that has completed its journey on earth. She does not pass judgment. She neither punishes nor rewards. She simply fulfills her sole function, governing the realm of the dead. This is the source of her great wisdom. She teaches us true impartiality and the acceptance of the inevitable. In the modern world, which is preoccupied with eternal youth and the denial of aging, Hel reminds us of the inherent value in every stage of life, including its natural conclusion. She symbolizes the portion of our own psyche capable of looking harsh truths directly in the eye, no matter how severe they may be. She is the internal voice that simply states, "This is reality. Accept it and move forward." In modern psychology, Hel can be viewed as a powerful symbol, representing the acceptance of our mortality and the integration of our shadow self. Her realm, Helheim, is a potent metaphor for our subconscious, representing those hidden depths we are often terrified to explore. Confronting Hel means facing our deepest fears, our suppressed emotions, and the parts of ourselves we deem dead or unacceptable. Yet just as in the myths, this encounter doesn't necessarily lead to destruction. On the contrary, by acknowledging and integrating our internal Hel, we unlock incredible strength. We stop wasting vital energy fighting ourselves or denying reality. We become more honest, more whole, and, paradoxically, more alive. The wisdom of Hel is the profound understanding and acceptance of the complete cycle of life and death, a realization that ultimately grants deep, lasting inner peace. Now, leaving cold Scandinavia behind, we journey to the hot and vibrant lands of India. Here we encounter perhaps the most shocking and widely misunderstood goddess, Kali. She is depicted with dark blue or black skin, possessing 4 or 10 arms. In these hands, she often holds various weapons and a severed head. She wears a striking garland of skulls, and her long red tongue frequently hangs out. While this image is often terrifying, every single element holds profound philosophical significance. Her dark coloration is not a symbol of evil. Rather, it represents infinity, the primordial void from which all creation arises. Her nakedness is the absolute, unvarnished truth. The necklace of skulls symbolizes liberation from the ego and detachment from the physical body. Kali is the primal energy of the universe, Shakti, in its wildest and most untamed form. She is the ultimate force of transformation, destroying the old and obsolete to clear the path for renewal and rebirth. One of the central myths about Kali recounts her fierce emergence specifically to combat the demon Raktabija. This demon possessed a horrifying ability. Every single drop of his blood that touched the earth instantly spawned a new clone of himself. The gods were helpless. The more they fought, the stronger and larger the demon army became. In desperation, they appealed to the great goddess Durga, and from the centre of Durga's forehead, from the point of her third eye, Kali burst forth in furious rage. She didn't engage them in conventional battle. Instead, she began devouring the demons whole, using her massive tongue to lick up every drop of their blood before it could fall to the ground. This myth is far more than just a story of triumph over evil. Raktabija represents our own unruly desires and persistent, uncontrollable thoughts. The harder we fight against them, the more those desires multiply. Kali, however, teaches us a fundamentally different approach, not to fight, but to consume and transform that chaotic energy within ourselves, preventing it from sprouting into new problems. The famous depiction of Kali dancing on the body of the recumbent Shiva is frequently misinterpreted as symbolizing the victory of the feminine principle over the masculine. In reality, the symbolism runs far deeper. Shiva represents pure, immovable consciousness, the absolute. Kali, conversely, is the active energy, or prakriti, life itself in all its manifestations. According to one myth, intoxicated by her triumph over the demons, Kali began a destructive dance that threatened to annihilate the entire cosmos. To stop her rampage, Shiva lay down beneath her feet. Stepping upon him, Kali was jolted back to awareness, realizing that her power was inseparable from his consciousness, and her fury immediately subsided. This iconic image symbolizes that energy, when devoid of awareness, becomes destructive. Yet consciousness without energy remains completely inert. Their union represents the vital balance required for the cosmos to exist. Kali's dance is the dance of life itself, and Shiva beneath her feet is the immutable foundation of being. Despite her terrifying appearance, Kali is revered in India as Kali Ma, the great divine mother. How can that be? It's because her fury isn't aimed at humanity itself, but rather at the demons, the ignorance and the ego that prevent people from achieving true freedom. She is the very archetype of fierce maternal love. She is the ultimate mother bear who will tear apart anyone who dares threaten her children. Her destruction is fundamentally an act of mercy. She destroys our illusions, our attachments, and our fears, everything that binds us to suffering. Yes, the process can be painful, much like surgery, but it is absolutely necessary for healing. That is why devotees approach her not with fear, but with love, begging her to cut away everything unnecessary in their lives and grant them liberation or moksha. She is the mother who loves us so profoundly that she is willing to cause us pain for the sake of our ultimate good. The name Kali derives from the Sanskrit word kala, meaning time itself. Thus, Kali is not merely a destroyer, but the inherent power of time, the force that creates, sustains, and ultimately consumes all things. She is the goddess of the great cycles, birth, life, death, and rebirth. She reminds us that nothing is permanent. Empires, achievements, even the very stars and galaxies will ultimately be devoured by the passage of time. This knowledge can seem terrifying, yet it is profoundly liberating. If everything is transient, there is no need to cling to possessions, status, or even our own ego. Kali's wisdom teaches us to anchor ourselves in the present moment, to cherish what we have now, and to embrace transformation without fear. For every change, every ending, is simply a step in the eternal dance of time, a dance in which we are all participants. In the spiritual practices of Hinduism, particularly Tantra, Kali holds a pivotal role. She is the force that awakens Kundalini, the potent spiritual energy dormant at the base of the spine. Her worship is a path for the courageous, for those prepared to face their shadow head-on and undergo radical transformation. She demands absolute honesty from her devotees and the complete abandonment of self-deception. To work with Kali's energy means throwing your limitations, fears, and false self-concepts into her purifying fire. This is the road to moksha, total spiritual liberation. She offers no comfort or gentle shortcuts. She offers the unvarnished truth, and this truth, though often scorching, ultimately leads to freedom from suffering and union with divine consciousness. Psychologically, Kali represents the archetype of unleashed feminine rage and power. In a patriarchal society, women's anger is often suppressed, dismissed as hysteria, or deemed indecent. Kali, however, legitimizes this fury, not as pointless aggression, but as righteous wrath directed against injustice, oppression, and falsehood. She is the part of our psyche that says no to what destroys us. She empowers us to set boundaries, fight for our core values, and dismantle toxic relationships or situations. To embrace your inner Kali means acknowledging your power, refusing to remain a victim, and taking full responsibility for your life. It means allowing yourself to be not just the good girl, but also the fierce defender of your truth. Our journey finally takes us to ancient Greece, a world defined by sun-drenched fields and the mystery of dark, flowing underground rivers. Here we meet Persephone, a goddess whose journey is the ultimate tale of transformation. She was originally known as Kore, a name meaning the maiden, or the young girl. As the daughter of Demeter, the goddess of the harvest, Kore embodied spring, flowers, and eternal youth. She lived in a perpetual state of summer, spending her days playing carefree in the meadows alongside her nymph companions. Kore was a symbol of purity, innocence, and a passive beauty entirely overseen and protected by her powerful mother. She was merely an object in her own life, never the subject. However, fate decreed that she would have to descend into the deepest darkness in order to truly find and claim her authentic self. The classic myth tells us that Hades, the god of the underworld, fell in love with Kore and abducted her while she was gathering flowers. He took her back to his dark realm, intending to make her his wife and queen. Her mother, Demeter, sank into profound despair and inflicted famine and crop failure upon the earth. Eventually, Zeus intervened and commanded Hades to return Kore. However, before she left, Hades convinced her to eat a few pomegranate seeds. Because she had consumed the food of the dead, she became eternally bound to the underworld. A compromise was reached. She would spend 2/3 of the year on earth with her mother, bringing spring and summer with her. For the remaining third, she would return to her husband in the realm of the dead, and that is when autumn and winter arrive. This myth explains the changing of the seasons, but its psychological depth runs much deeper. Contemporary myth researchers and Jungian analysts invite us to view this story through a different lens. What if it wasn't so much an abduction, but rather an escape? What if the young Kore, stifled by the smothering attention of her hyper-caring mother Demeter, subconsciously yearned for initiation, maturity, and a confrontation with her own shadow side, the very archetype Hades embodies? In this interpretation, Hades is not an aggressor, but a guide into the depths of her own soul, and the pomegranate seeds she consumed were not an act of trickery, but a conscious, deliberate choice. Kore was choosing her darkness. She was claiming her power. She ceases being merely the maiden and transforms into Persephone, a formidable queen who understands the secrets of life and death. This is not a story of victimization. It is a story of radical self-empowerment. Her transformation from Kore to Persephone establishes her as one of the pantheon's most formidable goddesses. She is not merely the wife of Hades. She is the absolute sovereign of the realm of the dead. The souls of the departed tremble in her presence. In the myths, she emerges as a stern yet profoundly fair ruler. It is she who grants Orpheus permission to try and lead Eurydice back, and it is she who receives Heracles during his labours. She is no longer the naive girl gathering blossoms. She is the one who witnessed the darkness, mastered it, and learned to command within it. She gained a depth of wisdom and strength that was inaccessible to her in the sunlit world of her mother. Her story stands as a hymn to the transformation that occurs when we dare to descend into our own personal underworld. Persephone's power stems from her inherent duality. She is the only deity equally claimed by both realms, the world of the living and the world of the dead. She is the essential bridge between light and shadow, consciousness and the subconscious. Each spring she returns to the surface, ushering in life and vibrant bloom. And every autumn she descends into the darkness, drawing the warmth and light away with her. This eternal cycle doesn't just symbolize the shifting seasons, but also the inherent rhythms of our own lives. Periods of outward growth and activity must be followed by times of introspection, rest, and profound renewal. Persephone teaches us that both states are absolutely essential. We cannot bloom forever. We must sometimes retreat into our own inner winter to gather strength and cultivate the potential for a glorious new spring. The psychological wisdom of the Persephone myth is immense. Her story is a powerful metaphor for navigating trauma and ultimately reclaiming our inner strength. The descent into the underworld can be viewed as our necessary confrontation with depression, overwhelming loss, profound grief, or any other deeply challenging life experience. Initially, we may feel like a victim, literally kidnapped or hijacked by our circumstances, but just like Persephone, we are given a profound choice. We can remain defined by victimhood, or we can step up to become the sovereign ruler of our own inner world. By integrating our traumatic experiences and truly embracing our shadow self, we cease to be the naive core, and instead, we transform into the wise Persephone. We learn to find meaning and enduring power in the absolute darkest periods of our lives. We finally understand that our scars are not deficits. They are the exact things that make us who we truly are, whole, integrated, and mighty. So, we've encountered 3 goddesses from 3 distinct cultures: Hela of Norse mythology, Kali from India, and the Greek Persephone. At first glance, they seem entirely different. Hela is static and impartial. Kali is dynamic and fierce. Persephone is cyclical and dualistic. But upon closer inspection, a common thread emerges. All of them are rulers of the unseen realms, the world of the dead, the realm of time, and the domain of the subconscious. They all represent a necessary aspect of existence that modern culture tries desperately to ignore, the aspect of ending, destruction, and darkness. They teach us that death is not a final end, but a transformation, the death of old beliefs, the death of the ego, the death of outdated relationships. Their perceived horror is actually just our fear of change, and their true wisdom is the promise that after every winter comes spring, and after the darkest hour, the sun will inevitably rise. So who are Hel, Kali, and Persephone, really? Are they monsters from ancient nightmares? Or are they the wise mentors we are desperately afraid to listen to? As we've seen, their stories are not about death as an end. They are about the death of the ego, the death of illusions, and the death of the old versions of ourselves that no longer serve us. Hel teaches us acceptance. Kali teaches us liberation. Persephone teaches us integration. Their dark power is the power of truth. It tears away our masks and forces us to confront the things we have been avoiding. Only by walking through this darkness can we achieve true wholeness and wisdom. They remind us that for something new to emerge, the old must first die. And there is no horror in that. That is simply the greatest law of life. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If this video gave you something to think about, please support us by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel so you don't miss our future explorations into the mysteries of the human soul. Now, a question for you. Which of these 3 goddesses resonated with you the most, and why? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's discuss.